what is mystery? Mystery is
That's a great line.
right.
The
So,
mystery of mystery.
it is a mystery to come up with this. So you may immediately think, well, I don't write mysteries. I don't do cozy detective mystery novels. Why would I want to have mystery in my book? Well, mystery needs to exist in all story, because mystery is just that element that keeps the reader curious and turning the page to wonder what's going on. So it's the difference between tossing a ton of backstory in and versus giving just a tiny piece of the backstory and let the backstory unfold throughout the remainder of the piece. And this is mystery that's being caused here. People are curious about why this situation has occurred.
Yeah, and it can be so tempting, especially in the writing process, to because you've come up with a great backstory, a great story, great characters, and you want to just sing about it and tell it all and get it all down on paper. And actually, that's the wrong thing to do. But I think that in regard to that, a great tip is to know the ending, know the backstory, preferably before you even start writing, but especially when you're you're editing, because the more you know, the more you'll be able to kind of work things in your favor, put things in the right place, foreshadow certain things. So I think knowing your story for this one's a great tip.
Yeah, absolutely. For mystery, you really got to understand it. Now, in my classes, my students get confused between the next two, and that's the conflict and the tension. So I like to explain it in this way. Tension is that inner feeling that a character has because of the conflict involved. So getting back to Michael Bay, I can't leave an episode without talking about Michael Bay at some point. So Michael Bay's Transformers is conflict, and yet there's no tension involved because it doesn't seem to be connected that anyone cares why this conflict is taking place. So the tension would be like adding and ratcheting up the inner feelings and emotions of the characters and giving deep emotional concern for it, of the conflict that's happening.
Yeah, I think they are quite easily confusable. But they are different. And I think anytime you I can't think about. See, it's the blue top. I can't look
step aside.
Just introduce. Anytime you introduce, it came as soon as you left the shop. Anytime you introduce a change to the characters' lives or world, I think it creates tension. When you disrupt the status quo, which is you're going to do early on in the novel, but anytime you make any kind of change to the situation, it can build upon this tension.
Yes, absolutely. And the conflict side of this. So I think this is a great one here. This is a little story that I kind of created in class to describe these three things. So in the United States, we have the holiday Thanksgiving, where family all comes around. So let's say that we have a husband and wife that are going to be hosting Thanksgiving, and the husband just finds out that his wife invited his father, who he's estranged with, but we don't know why he's estranged. That's the first thing. We've added mystery. Now we also have conflict added there between the husband and the wife because he's upset that he's coming. So the father shows up and we immediately have tension between the two of them. Conflict doesn't necessarily have to exist between the two of them because of that tension. But at some point in that meal, something blows up and creates a larger conflict between the two. And then perhaps we've introduced and we've found a little bit more mystery out about it and why this conflict and tension has been there. So I think that's kind of an easy way to put it out, that a conflict is an action, a tension is the inner feeling of it. The mystery is the solving it as it goes along.
Yeah, and these things work together. So, having the mystery of why he's estranged can then compound the tension and build the tension.
Yeah, because the mystery is certainly, you can do two things. If you're after dramatic irony, you can have the mystery be that the character doesn't know what's going on and the character's trying to understand it while the reader does. But it works better when the reader doesn't understand it. And the reason why is we have that have that curiosity in our minds. Like that's just a natural thing for humanity, is that we are curious about what's going to happen. So the more mystery we keep into the piece, will keep the reader turning the page because they want to know what happens.
Yeah. And dialogue's a great place to do this. If you're having a conversation between two people and there's an inherent tension there, there's a dialogue, he's questioning sort of why he's come down, or that mentioning that he hasn't seen them in so long. And there's kind of like a subtext of they're basically saying like, what are you doing here? And then you're wondering, like why is there a tension here? And dialogue's just like a really fertile ground to introduce tension and to have characters say things that they're not saying, and to get the reader questioning it, like you just said yourself, Clark.
Yeah, and the one thing you want to be aware of or be careful of with the dialogue is that you're not making it sound clunky. So it wouldn't be, well, you remember when this happened on this day with my father and why I'm upset with him. They don't need to do that. Like you can just throw in a place and a time if you needed to. I think it's really great in the movie Avengers between Black Widow and Hawkeye. And there's this little line about Budapest in there. He's like, is this like Budapest? No, this is nothing like Budapest, or something like that. But all they do is just mention Budapest. We don't know what happened in Budapest, but it adds a mystery element to it. And you wonder what happened.
We'll always have Budapest.
Yeah, we'll always have Budapest.
Thank you for listening, and come back next week for more. Please visit thebookeditorshow.com for show notes, links to guests, books and extras, and for information on how to be a guest on the show.